You've been writing checks your mouth can't cash. You've been talking and walking a lot of shit back.
Hello, my name is Zach Rye with Old Man Gaming, and welcome to our 4th episode, possibly going to be my favorite episode ever of this series, For Honor Fantasy Heroes. So, if you haven't been watching, I've been posting one for each of the factions, basically pitching a new hero to For Honor, pitching what its looks, its backstory, what weapons it uses, and of course how it fights in combat. So I've gone through a couple so far, but today we're doing the Outcasts. So the 5th kind of unofficial faction of For Honor is the Outcasts. These are not necessarily aligned characters, but just random characters that don't fit the mold of any of the other factions. Right now you've got 4 characters in the Outcasts, and every single one of them are hybrids. You got a pirate, an Egyptian warrior, you have an Aztec warrior, and then kind of like an Islamic cleric. All cool, inside their own right, without a doubt. But there's one missing that I've really wanted to pitch. I did a lot of research on this one, specifically because I don't want to be culturally insensitive, but I just think this For Honor hero would be so cool and so much fun to see in the game. So what am I talking about? Well, before I get to that, I just want to really quickly disclaimer, like I disclaimed on everything else. This is not an official announcement. I have no direct line to Ubisoft Montreal. I do not know what their heroes are going to be. This is literally just me having some fun pitching a character idea for a game I love. So with that out of the way, I am pitching today for the Outcasts, the Zulu Warrior. Now, personally, I think instead of doing an Outcast faction, we should have just started adding more factions in general and added an entire tribal faction to the game, possibly even more. But we didn't do that. We did the Outcasts, and with the Outcasts, that's the only place where this guy makes sense. So I did a lot of research on the Zulu Warriors, what they are, how they fight, and which types of fighting they use. Now, I wanted something to be kind of unique. Now, a lot of them fight with the sword, with the shield and the spear. That is the obvious way to go, but we've got a lot of shield characters. We've got a lot of spear characters. So I kind of went a little bit deeper. So what I'm pitching the Zulu Warrior using is the Nguni fighting sticks. If I butchered that pronunciation, I apologize, but it's Nguni, Nguni fighting sticks, and I watched a ton of videos on these guys fighting with these things, and they're just so cool. To give a quick description, in the left hand you hold this kind of oval-shaped buckler, underneath it a large kind of almost like half quarterstaff, and then in the other hand you hold kind of like a longer, harder stick, almost with like a club type end. And I'll be trying to post some pictures. They were actually kind of hard to find just the sticks online, so I had to rip off some thumbnails. But yeah, that's what this guy is going to fight with. And I think he's going to be really cool and interesting. But we got to start somewhere. We got to start with what he is. So this was a really hard decision because initially I really wanted to make him a vanguard. But the more and more I thought about this character and what I want to do with this character and how I want this character to interact with other characters, he just has to be a hybrid. I mean, first of all, every one of the Outcasts are hybrid, so I feel like that is just an Ubisoft staple, that all the Outcasts are going to be hybrid in some way, shape, or form. And second of all, while I think he would definitely be merged with a Vanguard, I just see a lot of different kind of ways to use him that is kind of counter-attacky almost. So almost like maybe heavy, maybe even assassin stuff for this guy. So I'm really excited to present him to you. So how does he fight? How does the Zulu Warrior fight? Well, I really wanted him to be kind of a straightforward fighter in a lot of ways, but there is kind of a weirdness with that stick and how they used it. Watched a lot of videos, and they like to kind of turn the stick sideways on defense and then attack with the stick from low or high. Other than that, they'll also punch with the stick hand a lot, kind of almost gladiator style. So just having him being a straight Vanguard didn't make sense, and the more I thought about moves that I'd want to see on this guy, just didn't make sense to have him be that. So he just has to be a Vanguard. But what he is going to be is a straightforward fighter. He's going to be very stamina intensive, almost like your Gladiator. He's going to be almost like a Gladiator Vanguard, if you could picture that. But he's also going to have an interesting counterattack ability, which we'll get to. But this guy is all about one-on-one fights and taking it to the opponents as quickly and as efficiently as he possibly can, while also having some really cool tricks to kind of finish his combos and kind of mess some people up. So right off the bat, he's going to have a good sprint speed so he can get to the places he needs to go, much akin to the Gladiator and Vanguards of the game. Once he's there, he's going to have a lot of straightforward combos, but his abilities, let's talk about his powers. First of all, he is going to be a two-stance character. The two stances aren't going to be crazy, though, kind of not like the Med J or anything like that. Instead, he's going to have your normal stance where he is kind of like hopping back and forth on one foot, staying very mobile with the stick arm up, the defensive stick arm up. That's key. Then his other stance, he's kind of goes into like a lower horse stance and turns the stick arm sideways so that the stick is across from him. That is his defensive stance. But one thing you need to understand about the defensive stance, it doesn't protect him in any way. It's not a superior block or a superior guard. Instead, it is a punishing counterattack, a punishing guaranteed counterattack, no matter what you hit him with. So the idea behind this character, right, is that if he drops into that stance and you hit him, he can either go low or high, depending on his moveset. Like I think high would be the heavy attack, low would be the quick light attack, and those attacks will be guaranteed no matter what you hit him with. So if you swing into him while he's doing that, and they press the button as soon as you hit him, he will take the damage, but his move will connect with his opponent. There's nothing they can do. They can't dodge, they can't block it, period. And that's what I think is really cool about him, is he takes the damage to hit him, and it's going to be very much about judging what you can take and what you're dealing. The other thing that's going to be really cool about this guy is he's going to have a lot of straightforward attacks right off the bat, so he kind of comes in swinging. A lot of times, especially with assassin classes, the way to stop this is either to parry, well, not with an assassin class, but to dodge to the side, hit him with a dodging attack. With this guy, you'll hit him a couple of times. You'll hit the Zulu will hit with a couple of blows, and then as the person dodge attacks, the Zulu can drop into that counter stance. He'll take the dodge attack, which usually doesn't do a ton of damage, and then punish with a counter attack, which will make dodge attackers like myself very upset with the Zulu character. But if you well time that defensive stance, it's going to be a great combo finisher, and it's going to be a great combo. It's going to be a great way to stop those dodge attacks. He's also going to be about comboing. So his main special power type thing is every time he strikes with a blow, the next blow is going to cost slightly less stamina to get off. This resets the minute you block him, he misses, or you parry him, which makes him also very interesting. So you can kind of hit, then stop, go into that counter stance, and do a lot of damage. The big idea behind the Zulu Warrior and how he fights is I want you to go in and hit a few times and time your counter stance, your defensive stance, well enough so that when they hit, you're spending almost no stamina for it, and then you can go right back into another combo. The idea with this guy is he's going to break people who break combos. He's going to be an ultimate comboer almost. So he comes in, hits you twice. When you go for your defensive counter or whatever, that's when he drops into his defensive stance. He stops you and hits you, and then goes right back into the combo again. Almost all of his combos, as long as you time that counter correctly, are kind of infinite in a way. And I think that's going to make him very interesting when it comes to the day-to-day combat. In a lot of ways, this defensive stance is going to mimic the key stance from the Shaolin, where you take a couple of strikes, hold down a button, he goes into a key stance, and then that allows you to stop the parry or whatever. But with this, it's more about eating that damage and hitting the opponent with it. On the other hand of things, I do want him to have a punch, a couple of punches, akin to the Gladiator, but a little bit different. We'll use X on that, usually X in a dodge or X in an attack. Basically what I want to do is I want him to have a quick jab punch with his shield hand, kind of a snapshot to the face, or a big running jab that hits from great distances. Kind of like the Gladiator's crowd pleaser opener, but with your punching hand. So when I watched the videos, they did a lot of punching with that hand. I think that's really cool, and I wanted to figure out a way that could help him. And I think one thing that would really help him is he's going to be all about controlling that single opponent. He's going to be about forcing them to make a move on him that allows him to do big damage, while also taking damage, but big damage at the same time. So what do I want these punches to do? Well, I don't want them to be like the Gladiator's punch, because the Gladiator's punch is about stunning your opponent to open them up for another big attack. It's also a much slower punch because it's unblockable, so you have to time it a little bit better. And sometimes it's also about giving you distance from your opponent. I don't want that with the Zulu. The Zulu isn't going to want that. He's going to want to be up and close and personal. He's going to want to be forcing you to attack your way out of fighting him so that he can trap you. With him, I want the jab to be a quick snap hit that comes out of the counterattack phase. So when he drops into that counter phase and somebody sees it coming and realizes that you're about to counterattack and backs off, you can quickly hit the X button and hit that jab and do some punishing damage, which might allow you the opening to do some more attacks. The big jab punch, I want to reduce their stamina. I want that to drop their stamina a little bit. Not really do damage, but drop stamina. So that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to force them to make those attacks on you. Force them in close and keep them in close. You don't want them to run away. You certainly don't want them to go off on you with attacks. So you want to reduce their stamina, forcing them to make those big plays on you, which allow you to trap them into some high damage. And then you want to eat some damage on the back end, but at the same time, manage it so that you can go through them fast. So that's it. That's the Zulu Warrior. I am hoping I did this character justice, because I've been wanting to pitch this character for a really long time, and I think this would be a really cool add to the game. I think this would be a really cool thing to see in it. The music, of course, as always, was done by my brother Nick Van Siders, who makes all the music, and then the extra little pictures that I had done were done by Was Just by, and I appreciate him for that. We've got one left to do. One left. Season finale. Finishing it off with my favorite. We're going to do the Knights. I'm very excited about this Knight character. It's a character that I want to see in this, and it's actually a character that I think does something that the Knights don't do. I mean, the Knights have the most characters already, so it's hard to find something kind of individualized that doesn't overlap with something else, and I think I found one, so I'm kind of excited to pitch that. That will be next week. That will be our last episode of this series for time, and then you guys can tell us in the comments if you want me to bring back for a season 2 and do all the characters again. I'd love to do that if you wanted me to or not. So you guys can reach us on Facebook at OmanGamingDH, on Twitter at OmanGaming9. Join our Discord, links in the description below, influence us, and all of our shows from there. As long as you guys keep watching and listening, we'll keep making them. See you guys next time.